All right, we're recording. All right,
Nice.
here we go, dude. Episode 1, Mempho Metal Podcast. I'm Anthony from Hate Doctrine, and I'm joined with Chris Goolsby from Croyle.
Hey,
Tonight we have with
cheers.
us the one and only from Epoch of Unlight and Incineration, Mr. Tino LoSicco. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well, guys. How are you both?
Awesome.
Fucking fine.
Making it.
Fucking working on the buzz on a fucking Wednesday after evening. So
Go
yeah.
Grizz.
That's, yeah, hell yeah. Go Grizz, dog. The game's on right now, ain't it?
It's off to the side right here.
Yeah. I got hockey on. I probably should turn it to the Grizz game. You got Valley Sports?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I do not.
Oh.
So
Go,
yeah,
hey, go sports team.
yeah. Yeah, even my mom is like has Valley somehow in Ripley, Mississippi. And so, well, living in Memphis, they basically assume you're going to go to the fucking game or
Yeah.
some shit.
It's direct TV for me. Yeah.
Great. Okay, cool. Yeah, I got internet Hulu TV, which it does well enough. But fucking hey, I guess we'll start off talking what the fuck you're talking about, Tino. That was cool as fuck. A damn badass fucking record story at fucking Cheapskates.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
the harmony corruption off the floor, the vinyl harmony corruption. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a challenge to get that music back then, right? And so, if I didn't get it, so the way I'd normally get it, and that's a longer story, but I'll tell you, I was with the same person who we'd get our music through back then. We went in the Cheapskates, had a bunch of buddies that skated, went in the Cheapskates. I wasn't one of them. And walked in, and they had a very small music bin. They had just an egg crate, one of those egg cartons on the floor, had a bunch of records in it, and Harmony Corruption was there. I still have the sticker on it, an original pressing, Mirek. I think I got it for like $11, maybe.
Fucking hey.
Yeah.
Dude. There you go. That's badass.
Awesome. But yeah, like you guys were saying, like the way we got into that stuff is like, we used to tape trade all the time.
Right.
And,
yeah.
My next door neighbor, I grew up with. I moved into this neighborhood when I was 12, and my next door neighbor was about 3.5 years older than me. Was always skating out front. Went to a different school, but one day I saw the guy wearing a Metallica T-shirt. I think he was wearing like a Ride the Lightning T-shirt. So I went up and talked to him, and just kind of struck up a friendship. And through that time, kind of got into more extreme music, heavier music, found out we were on the same wavelength. Back then, I don't really want to date myself, but you can find out how old I am very easily. We were getting that wave of German thrash metal, and they're the Creators and the Coroners and Sodom, and we were really getting into that stuff. And he got the crazy idea to start a webzine. Or not a webzine, webs didn't exist back then. He started a fanzine. Like literally typed it out, cut and pasted, and started tape trading. So we would tape trade and get albums from overseas, videos from overseas, and that's kind of how we found out about Earache. And this is kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but when we started recording demos with the earlier form of Epoch, he would tape trade our demos as collateral to get other demos in, and he would use our EPs. So he started working on his own distro, and so he would trade like 20 or 30 copies of our CDs, or back then it was cassette tapes, to get other tapes over here, and that's how we kind of got exposure, and used it in. But it was cool, man. People were very open. That's how we found out about all those old, Candlelight record bands. He was dealing directly with the bass player at the time for Emperor. He would trade with, and we were getting that stuff straight from the bands back then. So it was a fun time. You had to wait like 6-8 weeks if it ever showed up for something, and it was all like these comp tapes, these mixtapes, which is funny. This is something else. We were talking before you started the recording about these old man conversations, but there are certain albums now that we listen to where I expect the album to go from like Paralysis from New Orleans to Impaled Nazarene's demo to Pyrexia, because that's how we were exposed to it. It was all on like one single tape. People would drop a few tracks on it and send it out. So I always hear those albums in that order. You know, I expect those songs to come up just because we listened to it so many times. We wear them out.
Fucking
Yeah.
A, man. Actually, I got a question. Is y'all still have like a pretty good fan following and or fan base in Europe at all?
You know, we do. You know, we still hear from people. You know, it's interesting. You know, with the change in media and the change in social media and outreach, it's different. You know, with the most recent album too, with like blasting it through different channels that we didn't have, that didn't exist before. It's neat. People pop up and be like, "Oh my God, you know, this is a new album. Didn't know you guys were putting something out." So it's really cool. You know.
Oh, it's hilarious, man. I was sitting at work on my fucking work computer, and so I get on Metal Sucks every now and then, and it's like I just pull it up. It's like Epoch and Unlight has a new album, Metal Sucks. I'm like, yeah, I don't know those guys at all. Who are these guys?
Oh, dude, I will tell you this. This freaked me out this week. I have a friend who was in Jackson, Chris. You may know him.
Chris from the Love Lady?
His name's Chris, and I'm blanking on his last name, but he sent me a couple of video captures of Jamie Josta's Patreon podcast.
Really?
And, yeah, it's one of those pay for podcast deals. He doesn't post online free, and in it he played a new song. And he's like, "Hey guys, I've been listening to this band. Here's their first." It was the first track off the album. He was like, "Should we bring them in the Metal Fest? Well, it's too late for this year, but maybe we'll bring them in 2024."
Huh?
And it was Jocelyn. I was like, I would have never known, if he hadn't sent that over.
That guy knows who everybody is.
Yeah,
trust me. If you play metal, he knows who the fuck you are.
It freaked me out. I was like, oh my God, I should probably subscribe to the Patreon.
Well, actually, that's the damnest thing. I brought up a couple of weeks ago. I got a lot of respect for Jamie Josta. Definitely his vocal style. It's like, cause that shit ain't easy, man. That shit's hard as fuck.
I have a good story about them. One time when Hatebreed was in town.
Cool.
It's a very small. Well, I think it's good. So they were in town. I think they were playing the Daisy.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I used to work out at the Y downtown at 4th and Monroe.
Okay.
And you see the same people every day. It's the same people that are getting ready to go to work downtown. They usually fit a certain mode. You know exactly who's in there. One morning I'm down there early. I see 5 guys walk in, all in camo shorts, all with hoodies up. It's like 6:30 in the morning, and they had a trainer with them. And I was like, I have never seen anyone else in this gym work out in a hoodie.
Wait.
And I knew that show was that night, and I was like, there's no way that could be Hatebreed working out in my gym. So I kind of got on the treadmill to the far left of them, and I kept trying to look for the hand. I was trying. Yeah.
The
hand. Well, what's the hand?
He lost a thumb in a fire. He was trying to save a friend, I think, and he got burnt so bad he lost a thumb.
Josta, it lost a finger?
Yeah, he lost a thumb.
Yep.
Oh.
And I saw that, and then they had another guy with them who was standing in front of the treadmills, who was like their trainer or something. And he was like, all right, that's 20 minutes, guys. Now let's hit the track. And he was like literally training the band at like 6:30 in the morning. So
fucking heck.
I was like,
that's
right.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's my one Hatebreed story.
That's actually awesome, dude. I mean, I recently started working. I started working out Thanksgiving. Hence why I may not play guitar again. But yeah, so that's shit. Somebody pushing you to do it, man. No matter where you are, 6 a.m, on the road, on tour, or whatever. That'd be great. I would have to have that, especially on the road.
Yeah, we'll keep the faith. We could talk about it more offline if you want. But John went through something similar last year, and he's a good resource for that. So there are ways to rehab around it.
Lloyd is recovering from carpal tunnel as we speak.
Oh, I feel you. I understand.
Yeah, very, very, very close, man. So yeah, it kind of sucks that that happened to him, and then this happened to me. We were waiting on one another to kind of be healthy again.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Did you guys play the Cryptopsy show with us, the aborted show with us?
Oh no, I was there. We didn't play it.
Okay. The first time I met Matt, the singer from Cryptopsy, was while he was working out. Like he'd get a word in, like just real quick, kind of, hey man. Just,
nice to meet.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a cool trend, man. It's good to see these bands trying to be healthier now too, so they'll stick around. That wasn't what it was like. People were doing everything that was the opposite of health. I think I saw one guy do push-ups before a show once. It's on some touring band that I saw, and that was it.
The only guy I ever saw do push-ups before a show was Scotty in '96. I think they brought Cannibal Corpse to Memphis. Anthrax did. And Scott was, Scott's this big, and he's
getting swole before the show. Yeah.
Definitely. All right, man. So talking about where you started and where it came from and things like that. Not only do you have Epoch going, but in Incineration. Let's talk a little bit about Incineration and you and Dan and how you guys made this other band happen.
Yeah, it's actually, so I always make the joke that it's like the Menudo of death metal, which is the band where guys age out and then they bring new members in. But it's like it's almost like the opposite now. Like they aged out, left the band, then came back. So it's a very boring story, but I will tell you. So I had a band that I had with Pierce, which is Joe's identical twin brother, Joe, who's the bass player for Epoch and Incineration.
Yeah.
Right. Joe at that time was on guitar. His brother was on bass. I was on drums. We had another guitar player. We added Jason Smith on guitar. And Joe wasn't playing guitar anymore. Joe actually injured his wrist. And we were just rehearsing. We were trying to do kind of early primitive death metal and thrash metal. And I met a guy that was playing with Dan. I met a guy, his name's David Smith. I met him at a concert at 616. And I think it was the Obituary. It was supposed to be Obituary's first show in Memphis. It was Sacred Reich, Anacrusis, Forced Entry, and it was supposed to be Obituary, and Obituary canceled. But anyway, he was one of those guys, he was into technical death metal. He had already started listening to this, David, and listening to some of that extreme Tampa metal, you're talking Monstrosity at the time. And he actually, I don't even know how we first started talking, but, he's like, hey, I've got this band I want you to hear. And he played me a copy of the Monstrosity demo, which, blew my mind. And he's like, hey, man, we're looking for someone who can play like this. He's like, can you play like this? And the song is my favorite Monstrosity song to this day. It's Definitive Inquisition. It is it's like the gold standard of what the best death metal song should be. It's beautiful. The solo on it, one of the guys in Cynic is I don't know. If you could say something's an archetype for the way a death metal song should be constructed, that's what I would say. But and it's organic too. It doesn't sound forced at all. And so he played that for me, and I'm like, yeah, I can do that. Sure. And it was impressive. It was really impressive. Of course, I was nowhere near being able to do it, but I was trying to do something like that. And so we kind of merged bands, if you will. Like, so I was a drummer, had a bass player, and I had a guitar player. I had, so it was me, Joe, and Jason Smith, and he had a singer, and he was the other guitarist. So the singer was Dan, and the guitar player was David Smith. And the five of us got together, and we kind of merged that and formed a death metal band, and we called it Enraptured. And that's when we first started. So the first band we ever played out under was Enraptured. And to take a step back, we did do shows before that, and in a very less glamorous era where we didn't have a singer. We actually did a show where I sang and played drums at the same time. We played a show at a sub shop, trying to audition to actually play a real show there later, and that went over well. But the good thing about that, and this is the way Memphis has this very interconnected scene, that audition at the sub shop where I sang and played drums is where I met Scott Baggett. 100 years ago in his band, Purgatory.
Purgatory,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, so both our bands tried to get this gig at this place that we thought would let kids play. But and actually, you know what? I this is how bad my memory is. I've skipped over significant sections, so I'm sorry. So you asked how I met Dan. I met Dan through David, and jumping ahead. But to take a step back, we did do shows before that, before meeting David and Dan, but we just couldn't find a reliable singer. We did the sub shop audition, and have you guys ever heard of a place called Vilay's Top 5? Is that?
I believe I have, man.
No.
This is another part of Memphis history. So, you know where, God, I can't believe it. See, this is my old man brain kicking in now. So Blue Monkey on Madison.
Yes.
So before Blue Monkey existed, that little side street between Blue Monkey and the milk plant, you go down that.
That was a gay bar for a long time, right?
Yeah, before it was that, it was what we were told was a Vietnamese gang hangout later.
I'll be damned. Because I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it was called Vilay's Top 5. And so.
Okay. What years were.
This was 91, probably.
Okay.
1991. Going in maybe early 92.
Okay.
But we did do a few shows with Scott's band, with Purgatory. So it was Enraptured and Purgatory, but we didn't have a stable singer at that time.
Yeah.
We went through a bunch of different lineups, nothing really worth mentioning at this point. But eventually the singer quit, or however you want to put it, the singer's gone, and I met Dave and Dan. And that's really, I think, what clicked for us, because what was good about David Smith was David was a very driven individual, and he made us all better musicians playing with him. I didn't understand. Oh, sorry. He made us better individual musicians, where we would practice. We were very focused. We would practice early in the day, get that practice in and be done. With David, we'd actually break it down instrument by instrument. I remember he'd go by and we'd say, all right, full band, play a song. Okay, stop. Drums and stage left guitar, play the song. Stop. All right, I want to hear drums and stage right guitar, play the song. Then we do just bass and guitar. So we really broke it down, and we actually really locked in a lot better. And it was one of those things where it's just when you're young, you don't think about it. You get together, we've written a song, all right, let's jam it out, right? So I really credit David with helping me hyper-focus on precision and trying to be just a better musician. And David was a little older. David was 5 years older than Dan and I are. And so, he had some really nice equipment and was really motivating in that realm. And so we all, it kind of pushed us. Okay, I got to get a better drum set. I've got to get, I got to get some cymbals, and Dan had to get a nice mic and that sort of thing. And we did that, I think, for about a year. We had a fire at the rehearsal room at Dan's place, and everything burned up. I lost the kit. Guys lost everything but one of the cabinets. Everything you can have. Some interesting life lessons about what you tell and don't tell insurance agents when that happens. Little did I know you could be considered a professional musician if you were paid $5 for gas, and that would void your insurance coverage. Anyway, so we did all that, and then like bands do, we have silly disagreements and we break up, but we didn't really consider it breaking up. Like I had always considered the band. I had started writing music as a drummer, and that came from when we were first practicing when we were 13, 14 years old. The guitar players didn't write. They had more attention from their girlfriends at the time. And so I kind of got bored playing the same songs over and over again. So I just started trying to write.
Yeah.
And then man, so I started writing, and then that situation with Dan and David, Dave had some very strong opinions too about writing and everything else. And, people just split when they want to write different types of music. I was starting to get into more of the extreme European style, and they were going for more of the Tampa based style that was coming out too. So it was
That metal
organic.
style? Yeah.
Yeah, it was organic, and I think it worked at the time. So we took Enraptured, and we called the band Requiem, and Dan took that offshoot and called it Incineration. And so Requiem, which basically started working on the same material Epoch does now, uh, existed under that name for about a year, but I got so sick of seeing all the bands named Requiem. I'm like, that was a poor choice. So, yeah, in pretty much less than a year, we changed the name to Epoch and Unlight, and that's just,
Which I gotta say, it's a cool fucking name. I'm glad. How'd y'all come up with that?
because we're science fiction and fantasy nerds, so, the Unlight is Tolkien.
Oh, okay.
It's very Tolkien based, and
yeah.
Epic is something. I mean, just the terminology itself is something I came across in school, and we, literally it means the time of darkness, if you want to, translate it. But the Unlight was, from Tolkien, was what was issued from Ungoliant, the spider that was, subservient to Melkor and was in the First Age. So it's just this really dark sickness,
Well, I guess to interject, I guess always the thing to us, it's like to be a factual dude, it would be Epoch of Unlight, because a lot of people say Epoch.
Oh man, we've heard everything. Everything. So the technical pronunciation, it can be an epic or an epoch, right? The best are when people merge them. So we've been epics of Unliked, Epic of Sunny Delight. We've seen this on banners. Epic of Sunny Delight was a good one, but like we pulled up to a club and saw Epic of Unliked. Yeah, to this day, if family asks me, I'm like, it's EOU. Just
EOU.
Just EOU.
My introduction to you guys, man, was 94. Yeah. It had it had to be the Antenna or Barristers. It might have been Barristers.
Probably Barristers. Yeah.
Okay, well, I had kind of started this grind band, out here in the sticks, in between the two trees where we lived, and I'd gone to Barristers for something. It was a local show. I remember I'd gone there with a friend's older brother or something. Me, the friend, my older brother, yada yada yada. And there's this band that I assume was called Epoch of Unlight. I'm like, oh man, this sounds cool. And then I realized at the end of the show that I was in fact not in a grind band. So I was like, okay, back to the drawing board. I've seen this band. I've been to the Pinnacle, dude. We got to do something else.
And thanks. Yeah, no, it's cool. We got to see a lot of cool bands when we first started playing, and like I would try to pull from what we saw. We played the Daisy with like Taint Skins, and there weren't any other death metal bands in town, so we try to play with whatever was extreme at the time. The punk bands, hardcore bands. There's a video floating around. I think at this point we've tried to digitize as many as we can just to capture that memory of those bands we played with back then. Those were at the time. The Daisy would let anybody get up there on the weekend, and it was fun. People would show up. I remember we played one show at the Daisy. I mean, and people don't know how to handle it. No one had seen a blast beat on stage. That's the freaking weird thing about it. That these guys lined up and started doing a conga line in the pit, like across the front while we were playing. And at the time you think, it's just somebody being a smartass, but it was funny. When I think back, it was like, I get it now. Right. I was probably pissed then, but I get it now. It's funny.
Exactly. Yeah. You're there to have a good time. Do whatever you want. With it. Within the means, of course. But
yeah. Yeah, but we played a lot of like makeshift plays. Did you ever come to any of the map room shows?
No, I don't think so.
So Chris, I don't know. Did you ever come to Memphis when the map room was a thing?
I've only heard stories, and that was before my time.
Yeah.
I heard some good stories about Dan Garber jumping the fucking trolley while he was going by while he's still playing bass.
Yeah, it's like in that era, People were just trying
a moving transportational device.
He had a long enough fucking cable from base to his fucking amp to go out of the map room, jump on the trolley, and just ride the trolley from it while playing bass. And jump back.
Dan. Oh, God.
Yep. So we gotta get Carver on this shit. So
well, he's on the list. I gotta hear this.
Oh, you know, we played shows with him with his first band, or at least I think it was his first band. Child on Fire.
Which one?
It was called Child on Fire.
Oh, dude, I didn't know this. I always just assumed the Ludes was.
Oh no, this was years before that.
Oh wow, didn't know that.
Yeah.
I asked about that one.
The extreme metal bands when we were playing as Enraptured with Dan and David, and Pierce and Jason and myself. It was Child on Fire. There was another band called Cholera that was around, and see, this is where I need Joe Toddy because he seems to have a better memory for some of these obscure facts. There was one other band, and I am blanking. There was an older thrash band that was around, which was it had two guys that used to make demos for all the bands. They were really nice. Both of them have passed away since then. And it'll come to me while we're talking. So, yeah, there was this other band. Hell, actually, our very first time on stage ever was in Amro Jamro, and that's where we met those guys, those older guys, because we butchered the hell out of a cover of Seasons in the Abyss, which I have on tape, which hopefully will never see the light of day. But yeah, I think we played an extra verse in it, and no one noticed. We just kept playing. It's great.
I've only done that a million times playing live. Like, oh, we got another fucking part in this chorus or this verse.
One of our guitar players had sat in a huge pile of mud or something before we went on stage, so he turns his back to the crowd, and in the video, it's just brown streaks all down the back. You know.
That's good, man. It's pretty good.
It was great.
Oh, dude.
I feel like I've had every bad experience that you can have on stage, so check them off the list.
I think we all have. I got some funny ones. I played a benefit for dogs before. I played a benefit for dogs here in Memphis, but I played a different one out in Milan, Tennessee, where it's like, man, someone booked a death metal band to play a benefit for dogs, and they did not know they did. So I'm like, it was filmed and put on TV and shit. Like,
oh wow, yeah,
that was hilarious. The other part of the story is like, played Hot Topping, Jackson, Tennessee, inside a mall.
Oh, nice.
You can ask Mitchell.
This was before Hot Topic was the spot it is now.
Yeah, before now. It was at that cusp of 2008.
Did they pay vinyl credits or what? What do you?
But yeah, you can always ask Mitchell Manley that shit. It's like, yeah, Liz Crafters was pissed the fuck off. And we're playing in fucking hot topic.
Good grief.
It's fucking hilarious as shit. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's like, I think all of us have done some fucking hilariously funny shit.
Oh, yeah. If you wanted to like make a list of the oddest places you've ever played, I could definitely throw some places up. I've played a coffee shop in New Orleans.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, which I think the story we were told is it was a place that was owned by the former bass player from White Zombie. So it was this shop where like we pulled up at like 4 or 5 in the afternoon, and there were still little tables. There wasn't much room. It was a cobblestone floor, and there was a sign on the front that said happy hour. What did it say, like 2 to 4? And we were like, well, fuck, man, we've missed it. We drove down. We're like, oh, we could get a couple beers. And so, we kill time until the show. Of course, it's New Orleans, so everything starts late as hell. We didn't go on until close to 2 that morning, and that's when we realized that the happy hour was actually 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. People came flooding in. Like we literally didn't start playing until after 2, and it was a full crowd.
New Orleans time.
Yeah.
And it's 12 hours before. Yeah.
That was so late, so hot, man.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, we played a shelter, and that was weird in Kentucky.
What kind of
Like
shelter?
it was to assist. So I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase it. So it was a club in Kentucky that had a big stage and a small stage, and it assisted people that were having challenges in life, right? So like they literally had the safe
Oh,
space sign in front. Do you know what I'm talking about?
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had like Ensure and infant formula out for people.
Fuck.
And what we didn't realize at the time, like when they booked us, they're also like, we need access to your lyrics. And I was like, whatever, they're in the CD. Feel free to
That's
read.
your
And
lyric. Oh
and then
God.
they booked us, and they're like, okay, you're good. And I was like,
What?
all right. But what I couldn't understand is they were looking at our lyrics, I guess, to see if they were offensive at the time, which, again, sci-fi nerds, whatever, math. If you hate math, you'll hate it. But like they looked at the lyrics and like, oh, you're good. And I'm like, the week before we played that show, the band Nunslaughter played. And I'm like, really? Like, like
I
that's
know.
cool.
I got friends with one of the old members of Nunslaughter because there's only 50 or 60 of them anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still good friends with one of them. So
Yeah,
yeah.
but
So go ahead. I see what you're saying. Nunslaughter was kind of motherfucking offensive, and they still are.
yeah. But yeah, these guys, we played this place, and it was just the weirdest thing. I've never played a place that had like the safe space little sign, on the walls, and they didn't serve alcohol. But if you needed it, you could get infant formula. So
God damn it.
nothing, nothing says metal like a good swig of infant formula. But,
Man, I played a similar place in Franklin, Tennessee, where like this dude has his own shit set up. But it's like this is all kids venue. There's no alcohol, but you can go play on the stage anytime you want. I'm like, oh fuck. It is weird as shit because like we got on stage to play and this dude get jumped up, look just like you, Anthony, start rapping. Yeah, son. Yeah, son. And I'm like, I'm about to play my first note of the song. I'm like, what the fuck weird ass shit is this? Of
Yeah.
course,
I can rap too, but I'm not gonna rap until this gets to like 1 million views. We get 1 million views, I will bust ass all over this podcast.
like, goddamn please. But yeah, I mean, of course, we had to stay with that dude in his fucking house, and he kept blasting fucking NPR. I mean, like, kind of loud as shit, and it's like we're trying to sleep, and we never could sleep because the NPR was too loud. And it's like this dude was still awake, and I really felt weird about it that he just kept staying awake. I'm like, oh fuck this, I'm gonna get
so
fucking ass.
So can I? I think like this is a great idea. You guys are doing this podcast. Can I offer an idea for like a theme episode?
What was that?
Like just weirdest tour stories. Weird, and
Oh
it doesn't
shit,
even be like a full like just
Yeah.
weirdest out of town stories. Because I promise you're gonna get some good.
oh yeah,
Yes.
I'm down for that one. I'm down for that one.
Yeah, that's got to be like a season theme. We've got. I made a list of the 10 people that I wanted on here. Oh, and Chris has done a lot to help me. Chris is going to be with me throughout the duration of this, of course.
Yeah,
And once that season is over, we can definitely dedicate a season, however many episodes to weirdest tour stories, because that I'll just put it on autopilot and listen, dude. I don't care.
Man, it's amazing the stuff you see.
I think that's what sucks. You know what's what I love about. That's why we like all of us always stay friends and shit. Because like I think it really fucks up people's heads and shit that people have never done shit like this. Not only just get on the stage, but just get the fuck out on the road for a minute. Just explain to people how shit is so weird and so strange and they can't understand it.
If it can happen, it will happen.
Yeah. And that's what's
I
so
don't.
weird. Like you're just telling stories. You're making shit up. Like, fuck no, I'm not.
Oh no. No, there's a passion, and because you know that it's not going to be financially rewarding, right? And then also, when you've done it for so long, too, people take the easy way out too. You know, like, oh my God, I've got this bill, I've got that bill, I can't do it anymore. But you know, I was pretty fortunate, man. I had supportive advisors that always felt like, you know, just the whole time I was in school, that you had to have that other component. You've got to have something to balance what you're doing, right? No one's got the perfect job. I don't believe if you say you do. And you've got to have that. You got to have that outlet, right? You know, again, some people it's gym, some people it's animal rescue, maybe, you know, but like as much as you can do to take advantage of the life you've got, man, and just it's passion. You know, people ask me that don't understand. I had this conversation. We had some friends over for the Super Bowl this weekend, and they're like, oh, you know, hey, how's the band going? You know, people that aren't into this, and I was like, oh, we just played a show in Cord, Arkansas. And I'm like, where the hell is that? And I'm like, it didn't really matter to us, you know, it was just an opportunity to play. We had a good time. It was a great crowd and good people, and we did it. We came back. It was fun. It was successful, and then we go back to doing what we normally do. You know,
how was Putrid Pile? Is that Sean still just the one man show, right?
Well, yeah. So I'm biased because the drums are recorded. You know, so he loses me on that. He's like, he holds up an iPod and he's like, "This is my band." You know, I'm like, and same thing with the other, you know, the band from Vegas too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's great for what it is, right? But you know, I think you and I, Anthony, are probably on the same wavelength as far as drummers and what we dig watching. I mean, for me, I even if I don't like the music, if I can watch a drummer and just see something cool, you know, I'm all for it. I can totally check out a band like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I could give you a list of bands that I really don't care to watch, but their drummers I hold in very, very high regard.
Yeah. Oh, get this. As a side note, while we're playing that show, there was a guy there who videotaped the band. And you know when you see someone, you're like, that guy kind of looks familiar, but you can't quite place it. And like after the show, he posted a video of the show. I looked him up. Very nice guy. He played in Vital Remains.
Holy shit!
Yeah, and he's in Cord, Arkansas. You know,
Vital Remains, the Dechristianize.
Yes.
Oh shit!
You can find videos of him playing live, and I'm like, amazing. You know, amazing drummer. Guy's great. The videos of him, you know, great drummer. Hell, I would have liked watching him play more than me playing at the show. You know, so it's fun. You never know what you're gonna do, you know, and who you're gonna run into. So that's why you
never.
We had I became very, very close friends with Pete Hamora. He was the original drummer in Nile. You know, he's the one on Amongst the Catacombs of Nephron Ka.
Hey, really?
Yeah, we did a show. I think it was the old High Tone Small Room.
Yeah.
And in between the songs, I'm like, you know, if any of you guys ever heard Nile, well, this guy right here, that's Pete. You know, he was the drummer. And I just kind of, you know, totally took the focus off of the band. It kind of stuck to him. But yeah, that was kind of another thing. I'd got we did Tino, I know you guys played Incineration and Epoch played the Minglewood Hall, the Beware the Ides of March show.
Oh yeah, and he was there. Yeah.
Yeah. It hit me up on Facebook Messenger. You know, hey, I know you play death metal. You know, are there other death metal bands? I was like, yeah, you need to be there. And this whole time, I'm thinking, you know, man, this is Pete from Nile. You know, how's he going to get here? And sure as shit, he lived in Memphis at the time, or he lived out this way at the time. But
yeah, I'll be damned.
Yeah.
Fucking A.
And
really,
I mean,
really cool.
You were in Memphis too when he played with them, right, at Barrister's in the Alley?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it was a great show.
99.
Yeah, 98 or 99.
Yeah.
In that era.
I saw that show, the very last show I saw before that, and I'll tell you how disappointed I was, and no disrespect to Tony Loreno at all.
But, I know what you're gonna say.
Exterminated just came out, dude, and I was like, dude, this kid's the fastest thing in the world. And to show up there and to see Angel Corpse and John not be with him, I was like, damn.
Yeah, that was they were on their way to Metal Fest that year because Tony texted for Cannibal Corpse, So he was Paul's drum tech. So they were on the tour, and he was pulling double duty. He played the show, pulled his drums off, and then teched Cannibal Corpse that night.
Yeah.
And then they went up and played the fest right after that. I remember that show.
What was the craziest thing I ever saw? You know, beyond the disappointment of not seeing, you know, John Longstreth playing for Angel Corpse was the band that opened that show, and if I remember correctly, was that not a band called Living Sacrifice?
It may have been them. So, you know, there's a interesting historic connection between Memphis and Little Rock and them, right?
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Chris, you'll like this.
Yeah, we did shows with them back in the day, and they also, I think Stoops has a friend of a friend type of connection with them as well. But so the local promoter here, Chris Walker, that was booking the book Barristers in the Alley, he had a friend, Fletcher Clement, and Fletcher's over in Little Rock, and Fletcher would book bands through here. I think Fletcher's got a really good podcast too, guys, if you're ever interested in checking out like some of his connections over the years. But he lived in Little Rock, then lived in Memphis, and they would help book bands through this area. You know, you have to develop the relationship with the touring agent too, right? They have to know that if they book at your club, they're going to get their guarantee. It's going to be a good crowd. Their band isn't wasting their time. And Fletcher did a lot of work also with bands that played that Christian metal circuit. I think there's that big festival, they call them the Ones Fest or something like that, where those bands make more money than you believe playing those fests. And you know, Fletcher was, I mean, maybe I'm reading into it, but you know, he always looked at it from the point of view, you know, this band has a big draw. These guys have a good draw. You know, why not mix them, you know? And he had no issues with crossing the streams at all, you know? Yeah. We got put on quite a few of those shows. Fletcher, for a time, managed Epoch. You know, he was integral in getting us on some of those big tours that we did. So we, you know, we you know, owe him a debt of gratitude for that. And Fletcher's a good guy. I still keep up with him to this day. But like, you know, they would book these bands. They would put a death metal band or a black. At the time, we were still doing the Paint, man. You know, on these shows with. Yeah, we did a show with Living Sacrifice where Living Sacrifice had an issue with us opening, so they actually blessed the crowd before we came out. They led the crowd in a prayer before we got on stage.
Okay. With that being said, Tino.
Yeah.
Here was okay. Mind you, I'm a 17-year-old kid. You know, I went to this Cannibal Corpse show, of course, to see Angel Corpse. Not only did Living Sacrifice make it known that they were playing metal for their Lord and Savior, like the very last song they played and got off the stage, here comes Pete Helmkamp, okay? and I think they started with, oh dude, it must have been Christ Hammer or War Torn. War Torn's what it was. And, he made it known that, you know,
no,
you know, what we're doing is not what they're doing, you know. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that I won't forget that show. That was a cool show. So the guitar player that was second guitar in Angel Corpse at that time wound up joining Monstrosity, and was with Monstrosity when we toured with them. So we had that kind
Taylor?
of. No, that was before Bill.
Bill Taylor. Okay,
yeah. That was before Bill. It was a guy named Steve. And Steve, I think I don't think he's in the scene anymore from what I've heard from those guys. But, you know, we talked to him all through the show too, just hanging out with the Angel Corpse guys before that show. And actually it was really cool. So when we got the gig with Monstrosity, you know, he was in it unexpectedly. And so we kind of had that built-in relationship. So it was nice because they were used to going out on really long tours and we weren't. So they helped us out. They kind of showed us the ropes a little bit and helped us avoid some of the falls of being on the road for 6.5 weeks when you've never left town that long before. So
yeah, no shit, right?
You know.
Well, it's dinner.
Yeah.
What's for dinner?
Yeah.
Slim Jams and M&M.
So many cans of tuna in the back of your van. Oh.
Exactly. Yeah.
All
right. That being said, Tino, let's move up a little bit, man. I have in my hands this little gem, At War with the Multiverse. I love it, dude. I mean, from start to finish, I love it. And I'm gonna pull my bias here. The work
Yeah.
John did on this is fucking phenomenal. Of course.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
I'm really happy with everybody. Really pitched in, man. It was a good. It was a good session. I think, having gone so long, through so many changes and just trying to get this stuff done,
Yeah.
that it finally it showed itself. And
Right.
and Alan deserves the credit too, like in capturing it. So
I mean, that dude's a motherfucking. He's a fucking badass. It really is, man.
yeah, well, we were lucky, Alan played in the band, so he knows what we were going for as well. That's the other little thing. So he was not. Alan's a very quiet guy by nature,
Yes,
but
he's a very quiet guy.
but he was able in this situation to give us honest feedback. It's like,
Critique, like real critique. Hey, man, actually be loud about shit. Like, hey,
Yeah.
man, you need to be doing this, need to be doing that. Blah 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 blah. It should feel like this. Blah blah blah.
yeah,
That
a little type of production input. You know what I mean? Like, hey, did you guys really want to do that? No, it's a little sour. Or Tino, I think you can do it better. I've seen you do it. Do it better. Do it better.
Oh, that's awesome. See, so even though there was a lot of this that was written, pre the record, of course, it was more of a collective input when it came time to really make the record happen.
Well, so what we did, over the years, it just organically it's fallen to me, like through no choice of my own, just out of necessity. I've written a lot of the music, but I've been lucky enough to work with guys that know the style. When they say like what that epic style is, they know how I write. Like
Right.
if I play something, if Josh hears something goes, that's a Tino chord, or or a Tino progression, which usually that means it's somebody that can't fret a chord well, right? But I mean, he knows what I'm going for. So and John's extremely talented, so he picked up on that immediately. Even when he lived in Maryland, right before he moved down here, he had learned some music, came down, played it well, and so we've just had time to kind of refine it. And the delays in the recording that actually made this better and made John better is that you go through so many lineup changes. The thing is, we always try to keep this thing afloat, right? Whereas pretty much I've been the only constant, along with Joe, for this. That when we've had different guitarists come in and out, John's got an opportunity to work with them too. John's played with, let me think, 4 other guitar players that we've played with at this point over the last 30 years. Like he played with Jason and Joe Reynolds and Josh and Brian, or not Brian, I mean Alan and who else? Even Vince. Vince helped us keep some of the music alive when we had no guitar players. I showed him all the music and we would rehearse with him too. So
I mean, Vince is such a good fucking dude. I can see him like, hey, I'll just fucking learn all your shit just to help you keep it in the catalog.
Yeah. So I think John adapted his style to fit what we do. But then when we went in the studio, I didn't have to tell the guys, hey, I want to hear it like this. Hey, I tried to be a little bit more back, stand back at this point. Like the songs are written. They know the songs. Like, take it and let's make it as good as we can. So.
Oh yeah, man, and I think it was like when I listened to the album, that's what I kind of got from it too, because like it's always the best way to approach it when you're confident of every fucking goddamn thing around you. Like fuck it, just let it go.
Yeah, and we had so long, we knew exactly what we wanted this time, right? Exactly. And we had the time too. Again, it sounds like old man crap, but man, we used to spend so much money. We didn't have very big budgets when we were on the label. So we never had more than like 4 days to record an album, right? It was like to record.
I know what that's like.
To record and mix an album. Let me rephrase that. So the first album, the first album we were given 3 days for everything. The second album we were given like 3.5, 4 days. And we did in Metairie. We did at Festival Studios. The third album that we did in Jersey City, we had 5 full days to record and mix and finalize to get mastered later. But I mean so it was rush, to get through everything. And that's all we had the budget for. And so this one, and especially with the advent of like the technology, we could take our time. It took a little bit longer than we wanted.
But total time, what are you looking at as far as like recording?
Well, recording wise, like I got my drums done over 3 days, which I'd never done. Like on all those other albums, I had a day, like less than a day.
Well, I mean, dude, you got to feel like having 3 days to fucking critique your own drums has got to feel good.
Yeah, and technically, I should take it back. I had a 4th day to come and set up ahead of time and get tones and, again, work with Alan to get everything in place. So that to me is a luxury. There's bands that have much longer. So I was happy with that. And then the guitar players had time. We did a scratch track. With John and he did the scratch track with me, and then what we could keep from that we kept. And then what he wanted to go back and redo, he did, and Josh came in and did his guitar. So they took their time. They did it over a couple months,
Nice.
And then, we actually worked with a dedicated singer for this time. So, and if you know Scott's probably the most committed singer I know. Like he actually is worried about the inflection of every syllable. He hears things. He's like, I cut off that S or something that I wouldn't have picked up on. And he went back to fix it. So
that's the thing I've always noticed about Scott. He's extremely detailed oriented about every damn thing he does.
Yeah. And so I love that. I love having guys that are as geeky as I am about this stuff, and want to get it done right. So
about it. It's like it's almost to the point, it's like if I'm feeling loose and happy, he doesn't want to even say hi to me because I feel too loose and happy for him. He's like, I like you. No, Scott, I love you, brother. He's like, okay, I love you too.
Scott is I love the guy more than anything. Scott had recorded a demo for us in 2017, way back. And he was supposed to be paid, for whatever the case. And one of the guys in my band, I won't name him, but he was delegated to take on the task of paying Scott. Never brought it to fruition or whatever, but
if you can find Scott a good beer, I bet you'd be.
That's it. Yeah, definitely.
I like how Scott has a fucking taste for beer.
Yeah. And
he's the guy. I mean, as far as craft beer goes or whatever, that type of beer, yeah, Scott is the guy, dude.
Which is really funny. He was not a drinker back in the day.
Right.
He has the fine taste.
Was he like a strange dude back in the day?
No, his drink of choice, which he may deny at this point, his drink of choice was the Avalanche. Those like that peppermint.
Oh
like,
my God!
Stuff with the rock candy in it.
Yeah. It was like a pre-Fireball.
Yes. Yeah. Way before, back when Goldschlager was like the only.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I taste vomit for some reason right now.
Oh, I did many a time with that. But I will say to Scott's credit that Scott is the singer that we always wanted to work with. He was always in another band, and you didn't want to be that guy. And maybe we should have been more forward at the time, but the other band were friends too, and you didn't want to go in and like poach their singer. He always had exactly what we're looking for. And he even joined this band when we had another singer, but we wanted to add that layer to it.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy with it.
Well, man, it's like when I've heard, it's like I never did actually hear any iteration before EOU before Scott. So maybe I kind of got lucky. I don't know, but I think Scott is the fucking dude of the band as far as that's the dude should be the goddamn doing vocals because it makes sense.
Yeah, no, it fits. And, once you reach a certain point where you have certain commonalities with folks too, like
Yeah,
you're just on the same page. It's like, hey, I want to go for something that sounds like this. They actually know the reference you're making. You know,
exactly.
you tell somebody, I want a Tom G. Warrior, ugh, and right here in the vocals, they know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. There's no fucking bad. There's no weird argument you don't have to have. To me, it's like, of course, I think EOU always falls under fucking mellow death anyway. But of course, like at the gates, fucking Slaughter the Soul. I feel like Scott's really good at doing vocals that are really similar to fucking the Slaughter the Soul vocals.
Well, I don't know how he's very specific about his vocals, and it's a weird lumping thing too. Like when we're on the label, you always have to like float them what you want to be compared to, right? When they do the advertising campaign stuff, and man, like
Fucking always.
yeah, and like I always kind of felt like we were a square peg in a round hole because it overlapped so much, but that's because we like so much. Again, it goes back to that tape trading I was talking about. I was like, man, I loved Impaled Nazarene and I fucking loved Immortal, but then again, I also love Testament, and I wanted to incorporate all of that because they were all great. There's times when we do something we're like, oh, let's have a beat that's kind of like Exodus right here. Let's do something that has that Exodus vibe. Okay, now I'm going to do a Marduk blast beat right by it. On the new album, what I tried to do is I tried to put a section that reminded me of like a mid 90s, like a black metal open chord strumming blast next to an Iron Maiden triplet pattern. And
Perfect.
And it just because we're into so many different things, and I mean that's what worked for us, and that's what we tried to have come across. So,
And that's another reason I respect. I love the record. Another reason I respect John's playing so well, and I'll go back to the song Night Hunt. That whole Maiden kind of thing there.
Yep.
That's John's love for Maiden and theory based guitar playing, and I just, like I said, man, I respect him more than anything. And his guitar playing, of course, I've told him many times, he's my favorite guitar player, and he always tells me to set my standards higher. And I don't know how they get any higher.
I believe it.
Oh, you're telling Mr. Fortier, John Fortier?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He is definitely one to watch, man. Love his guitar playing, man. Love what he does. So smooth and elegant and easy and just very nice.
Yeah, it's the prettiest hair in Memphis.
And a fun feet is unmatched.
Always like warm up before shows. I'm sitting there just doing shots, just watching him warm up. Like that fuckhead, he's gonna be way better than my ass. Like I'm like being shit wrong as hell. But he's gonna be on. So good,
I can do a lot of shit, and Chris and I had this conversation the other night as far as guitar solos go, and kind of backing off of them, or and only putting them where they need to be.
Yeah.
And I see guitar players like John, and then I'm like, damn, okay, this is all right, cool.
Yeah, man, we've been lucky to work with some really good ones, and Josh too. Josh comes from a history, like it's in his blood. When he was our sole guitar player too, I remember we did some shows with some guys that were in some brutal death metal bands. It was along that Morbid Angel line, but really intense stuff, and it was cool. But one of the things Josh was talking to one of the guitar players, talking about is like, to get behind it, you got to really know how to bend a note. You've got to be able to get the sound out of the string and to get the emotion across. And that's the cool thing too. And this is going to sound like a very weird analogy, but and I don't know if it holds true to today, but I remember back in the day too, being in a lot of 80s metal. Like the guys, I read about the guys in Tesla, where the two guitar players were different styles. Where you had guys, one was a little more thrashy, one was more of from a blues origin, and that's how they blended their styles together.
Yeah, no shit.
Frank Hannon.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I try to look at on our very small scale compared to that, which, Josh has a very bluesy bass and can bend the hell out of a note, so to speak, too. So, in my perfect world scenario, like if I could get some Skinnerd or Thin Lizzy-esque dual solos going on the next album, over a nice little blast beat underneath, get something like that. That's
You're making my heart
kind of put it in the pot and stir it up. That's kind of what I want. Maybe we cut this part
Yeah.
out, but that may be something that we're working on. So.
Yeah, especially the Thin Lizzy shit.
Because you know how much I love fucking Josh. I probably never told you this, Tino. That me and Josh once we fucking figured out who we were, we're like, dude, I love to fuck your stupid fucking ass. Let me buy you a shot. Just kept going back and back. Man, I love you. I love Josh Braddock. I love that son of a bitch. He's so fucking cool. Man, when the pandemic hit, me and my ex at the time, we lived right by the mouth of Volunteer Evergreen Green Line. So it's like, well, I ain't got nothing else to do. So I used to run track in middle school and high school.
Yeah.
At most, I could run 4 miles a day. I was like, well, fuck it. Let's go run. Because there ain't no bars open. Let's go run. So I take my fucking awkward ass bitch out. I can't even fucking walk right. And make her ass run. And it worked out for the most part. She fell down, cut her hands a couple times. But we always see Josh Braddock out there running too. Like,
that's Josh's little secret, man.
Yeah.
That dude,
So I'm telling you, only me,
That dude he was quite the runner. We did the bar dog one year, and like he blew my time out by like 10 minutes. Yeah.
Damn.
He is a fast dude.
He's just like me. You have no idea. I got a broken toe. I could run a mile right now. Right now, I have no problem with a broken toe. I can always run a mile. Always.
Right.
It impressed me. He's a runner.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
I'm impressed too. He's like, how the fuck you out here running too? Because I see him and Jason Pooley.
Oh.
And it's like, of all the shithead musicians that are out here for being healthy and running, you see Chris Goolsby, Jason Pooley, and Josh Braddock. It almost made no fucking zero sense ever.
Hey, it's your passion. It's just another passion you're following. I get it.
Yeah, like, get whatever with it, man.
It's like I'm not just a shitbag all the time. Just some of the time.
Oh, that's what we gotta do so we can continue to do what we love later,
Yeah, shit. Right. It's like living a 50-50 route. I got whiskey, beer, and weed. And but also we'll do a shitload of fucking pull-ups and go run a mile on a broken toe. So fuck it. So I don't know. I don't know what any answer anyone has. I can't be straight up sober. I've tried that route. It don't work for my mind. So I don't know. Everyone's different. Everyone's different.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to do what works for you.
Yeah.
All right. With that being said, Tino, my man, we thank you so much for being our first guest on episode 1, man. And we're going to continue to do this as far as we can get it to go, man. We've had a good time with you, man. Yeah. Me and my co-host Chris, thank you, my man. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys, and I hope you guys have continued success with this. This would be awesome.
Yes.
Fuck, man. I'll do one last finishing shot in your honor, Tino.
There we go.
For you, sir. For you. Good night
for both of you. Yeah. Good night, you guys. Tino, man, we thank you, dude. Epoch of Unlight, Incineration. Everybody watching this, man, check those guys out, dude, man. And again, thank you. Mempho Metal Podcast. We are out.
All right. Good night, guys.